Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I get to try out something new and fun. I'm trying out the brand spanking new Prima Oil Pastels, and they're water soluble. I love water soluble stuff, and I wanted to see kind of how they compare to the things I already had, and you guys probably already have too, to see if they're really anything new and different, and if they're worth investing in if you already have some other products, or if you don't have any, if this is the one for you. So the first thing I did when I opened up this box, and I got mine from Hallmark Scrapbook. These retail for $20 or $19.99. Hallmark has them for $16 or $16.99. I'll put a link in the video description, and full disclosure, if you buy from Hallmark Scrapbook, I do get a small percentage of the sale, so I just wanted to put that out there so you know. Here we go with, this is the swatch that I made with the colors here on this set, and they did release very easily when I added water to them. They didn't, you know, you can't really see the scribbles that I made originally, which I thought that was pretty good, but I thought I really ought to test them with other stuff I already had. So the first thing I tested them against was the Portfolio Water-soluble Oil Pastels. Now these are about $10 a set, so like, they're half the price for the same amount. And I thought they were pretty similar. They're not quite as strong, like pigment strength wise, and you can definitely see where I scribbled versus where I pulled it out with the water. It wasn't as soluble as the Prima Water-soluble Pastels, which I was a little surprised because I've always been very happy with the Portfolio ones. I still am, but I can definitely see that these are a little bit better quality as far as like how they re-wet. And I also tried it against the Gelatos and the gel sticks, because I know a lot of you guys have those products already, and I found the gel sticks and Gelatos to be very similar to the Portfolio, almost identical to the way they performed, and I still think that Prima worked a little bit better. And I also thought I would compare these against the two watercolor crayons that I use, the Lyras, which I use a lot because they're in a set of 24 and they fit on my table really well, and so here they are compared to the Lyras. Now the colors are pretty, some of them are very, very close, but I didn't find them to be an exact match to any of the other mediums that I had. So if you want to expand your colorway, if you had like the Gelatos and you wanted a broader color range, you could then go ahead with the Primas and kind of get some different shades. So the Lyras I thought were quite good, but not quite as good as a Caran D'ache, which I also tried out. I have the set of 84 Caran D'ache, so I just grabbed the ones that were the most approximate. I don't know if these colors are in the set of 24 Caran D'ache or not. I was just trying to kind of compare apples to apples as much as possible. So as you can see, they are very similar to those four other products. Okay, so if you already have Lyra Watercolor Crayons or Gelatos or Portfolio Oil Pastels, you may not want to invest in these. If you don't have anything, I think these are a great choice. But, you know, I would kind of consider these to be a little greasier than my watercolor crayons, so the pencils would be way drier and lots of pigment load, way drier, very thin application of color, but super vibrant. Then you have the watercolor crayons, which are kind of in the middle. Then you get the oil pastels, which are more oily. You can blend them with your finger or with water. So you know, they're very much like Gelato, so I don't want you to go think they're something completely different. If you already have those. They are cheaper than Gelatos. Gelatos run about $10 for 4, and these are $20 retail for 24. So, you know, these are a more affordable product. Okay, so let's do some experimenting here. I've got just a piece of watercolor paper, and I thought I would do one of my favorite techniques, which is to stamp with watercolor crayons. So we're going to see if they work with the water-soluble oil pastels. And this is a little set of stamps that I got from Stampin' Up, and I'll put a link to those in case you're curious. And what I'm going to do, I think, is grab a couple colors, and I think I'll just spray my stamp with a little bit of water here, and then just kind of color like I would. Now they are behaving, they're sticking pretty well. I was actually kind of surprised because I didn't find Gelatos to stick very well on this. And I'll use a little bit of orange here. So these are behaving a lot like a watercolor crayon, which I'm pleased with. So these are kind of neat. I always wonder when like a kind of a craft company comes out with an art supply, because you're always kind of like, well, are they just trying to pull one over on us? Do they have something decent? I'm not affiliated with Prima. I'm just kind of, I like to try stuff out. So let's just stamp that down, see what we get. Oh yeah, that stamps pretty well, just like it would with a watercolor crayon. And then I can go in with a wet brush and just kind of pull some of that color around if I want to. So that's good. If you don't have something that you can do that technique with, that would be super useful. It would really expand your kind of crafting budget. Because, well, I'll try this with a gelato too. I do want to be fair. So let me wipe this off. Let's try it with a gelato. I just want to be fair. I don't want to, maybe I've just kind of given them a bum rap. We'll try it. I never want to give a company a bum rap. So let me just spray this and try this with a gelato too. Oh, that gelato's actually sticking pretty well. This way you'll be able to see if you have both of these. Do you really need the other one? And I kind of wonder with the water-soluble oil pastels if they kind of get a little bit dried out after a while, because some people have told me that, and I did notice it with my older like portfolio gel things, that they didn't, they felt a little drier than they used to. So I'm wondering if maybe it's not a good idea to buy one of everything, maybe use one setup before you buy another one. That way you don't, yeah, I mean, that's with the gelatos. They work fine for this technique. I'm really surprised. But there you go. Do you need the Prima ones if you have the gelatos? Well, that is up to you. I think they're, you know, per stick they're cheaper. But look at that. They're doing the same thing. So yeah, I mean, it's up to you, but I think that they're similar enough that you probably don't need both. Let's try this one out. This is spritz with my water. I was really surprised. I thought these would be too greasy to work. But geez, you know, and I think where the gelato might have the advantage is because they're in a plastic case. Like, I think you have a lot more material in one of these oil pastels than you do in a gelato, but since this is in like a plastic case, you're not going to break it. It's kind of like in a chapstick case. So if you were going to take it to a crop or whatever, you wouldn't have to, well, I probably didn't need to spray that. You know, you wouldn't have to worry about it breaking in your bag, or you wouldn't have to bring the whole box. So, you know, things to consider, definitely. And I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to do this little bird in blue. Let's try that and see how that works. But I do like to try different products because, you know, not everyone has, you know, these products available to them. It's probably a little too wet. Well, we'll stamp it. We'll see. And if I can kind of help you guys take one for the team, you guys can decide whether it's something you really want or not. Let's try this one a little bit drier and see how it stamps. Yeah, you have to play with it a little bit to figure out exactly how wet or dry you want. This is a pretty stamp. I like the stamp set. I'm gonna have to leave that out and play with that some more. So there, that's stamping with it. Now, I'm gonna try blending it dry. So let's go with a couple shades. Why don't we do some greens here? So when you color with it, you'll see that it's really creamy, almost like lipstick, very much like a gelato. If you have a gelato or you have the water-soluble oil pastels, I think these might be a little bit more opaque. Okay, you can blend it by just coloring over the other color. I would warn you that if you keep it like this is thick, I think it might rub off. So it might not be the best idea for like a scrapbook or anything where you're not going to have it protected under glass. So look at this, I can just blend that with my fingers. Now I think the only time I would use it like this would be like on a colored paper or a matte board or something like that, where I would probably protect it under glass when the artwork was all done, because I do like how stuff like this shows up. Let me go get a darker colored board so you can see how it shows up on dark. I haven't tried that yet. Let's try this out. I've got a piece of smooth black matte board here. Let's try some of these colors here. White, very opaque. I'm gonna do this pink. That's probably not going to be, it's still pretty opaque though, especially if you color it over the white. So I mean, you can use it on dark colors. Now we can try our gelatos next to that and see how those work. I know the watercolor crayons work really well. So, you know, they're still pretty opaque. I mean, I don't see a heck of a lot of difference between those two blues. It did seem like they were much stronger in pigment on the white watercolor paper, but on the dark I'm not really noticing that much of a difference. There's the white. I think maybe the Prima white is a little bit whiter, but not enough to say I need to buy these if I already have those. So I mean, that said, I think these are a high quality product. I think out of the 5 that I tested, between the oil pastels and the gelatos, I think these are higher quality than the gel sticks or the portfolio, just as far as how well they blend out when I add water. But I also have to say that I think if you're looking for something on a budget, the portfolio water-soluble oil pastels are fine. And if you already have the gelatos, then I mean, I guess the colors are a little bit in a slightly different range, so you might end up with expanding your colors if you went with the Prima ones too. And I mean, it's 20 bucks. I'm not trying to talk you out of it or anything. I think they're great. I think that, but I'm just thinking that if you have a limited budget and you only have so much that you can spend or so much room to store, these are really going to do the same thing as the gelatos. Or I mean, they're very similar to watercolor crayons too. So, and I'll show you again the watercolor crayon samples versus the Primas. Those Primas are really nice, but I love my watercolor crayons. I just feel they're very versatile. But there you have it. They're really not that much different than stuff you might already have, but if you don't have anything, I would totally recommend buying these and giving them a shot, because they're really handy for, you know, using them to stamp with, like I showed you here in this example, or, you know, just coloring with, drawing with, using them as coloring mediums. As far as coloring, they're going to be much more useful than the gelatos, just because you have a point, and if you were to sharpen your gelato to a point, you're going to waste a lot of material, and with these you can just keep using from the sides and keeping that point. So, you know, and there is more medium, there's more material in a stick of the Primas than there is in the gelatos. So the gelatos are more expensive and you get less stuff, but if you already have them, you've already bought and paid for them, you might as well use them up, I guess is the bottom line on this. So how's that for an unbiased review? If you do want to pick up some of these Primas, Hallmark Scrapbook has them on sale for $16.99, and I'll put a link in the video description. Anything you purchase through that link at Hallmark Scrapbook, I do earn a small percentage of that, just to let you know, just to be completely and absolutely honest with you. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please leave them in the video description, the comments below, people. Oh, it's my first video of the day, of the week, in fact. It's Monday. If you have any questions, leave them below, and until next time, happy crafting.